Hi guys, and welcome back to I Speak English. My name's Hayley, and in this lesson we're going to be taking a look at some frequently asked questions about Cambridge English exams, specifically B2, C1 and C2. So if you have any questions, if you're confused about anything at all, hopefully this video is going to answer those questions for you. Some of the questions we're going to be looking at, for example, can you pass the exam if you fail one part of the exam? If you fail one paper, I'm going to be answering that for you. How do you register and choose an exam date? When and how are you going to get your results? Which is better, paper or digital? Can you contest your score? If you're not happy with your score, can you get it changed? The official vocabulary lists, and what's the pass mark? Those are some of the questions I'm going to be answering for you. We're also going to look at some extra questions as well. So if you're confused about any of this, stay with me here. Before we take a look at those questions, please do make sure you're subscribed to the channel and that you give this video a little like if you find it useful. It just helps it to find more people so that they can actually get their questions answered about the exams as well. I upload new videos every Saturday and shorts every single day. So if you want to learn English for free and prepare for your Cambridge exam, make sure that you come back and that you're subscribed so that you'll get a notification every time I upload a new video. All right, let's take a look at these exam questions then. All right, let's take a look at a few of these questions then. So before you take your exam, the first thing you need to do is register for it and also choose a date. When do you want to do your exam? So how do you do that? Right, your first step is to find an exam centre, a local exam centre close to you. You can do that online. I'll put a link in the description. Make sure that you check the description there, and that will link to the 40,000 exam centres that Cambridge has across the world, and you can search for your city wherever you are, and it will give you the closest exam centre to you. So that's your first thing, find an exam centre, and then also you need to look at the exam dates. Again, I'll put another link in the description. I'll put two links in the description, one for the dates for 2025 and one for 2026, because they are already out, they're already published. So click that and it'll take you to a PDF and you can see all of the exam dates for every exam, B2, C1, C2, B1, whichever exam you're doing. Okay. Look at those exam dates and then it's up to you really when you want to do your exam. So have a think, when do you have time to study? How much time do you want to give yourself? Do you have a specific deadline? Are you trying to get into university? Do you have a job that you want to apply for that you need this certificate for? Have a think and then book that exam when you know that you'll maybe have a bit more free time. Because obviously leading up to the exam, you're going to want to study a bit more intensively so that, you feel ready for it. So that's how you register and that's how you choose a date. Check the description for those links and you can do that there. All right, next question. What's the pass mark? Okay, so the pass mark is different for every exam, okay, whether you're doing B1 or C2. B1, your pass mark is 70%. It's higher than all the other exams. I don't know why they do that, to be honest, but they do. For B2, C1 and C2, your pass mark is 60%, okay? So just be wary that your exam for B1, if you're doing that, is split into 4 different parts, and you need to get 70% to pass. For B2, C1 and C2, it's split into 5. So you've got reading, use of English, writing, listening, and speaking. Okay, and also something important. So you'll notice all of these have different marks. Reading is 42 points. Your use of English is 28. Writing is 40. Listening is 30. Speaking is 60. Although they have different amounts of points, they are weighted equally. Every part of your exam is weighted equally. So your reading is worth 20%. Use of English is 20%. Writing is 20%. Listening is 20%. Speaking is 20%. Okay? So don't worry if you've got maybe you're not very good at writing. If you're good at everything else, you'll be okay in the exam. Okay. So just be wary. Yes, they have different amounts of points, but they're still worth the same amount in the exam. They're all worth 20%. Okay. Similarly with C1 and C2, again, they have different amounts of points. Reading is worth 50 points in C1. Use of English is only 28, but again, they're still worth 20% of the exam. Okay, same with C2 Proficiency. And you have to get a minimum of 60% to pass each of these exams. Okay, if you get 59%, that is a fail. 60% is a pass at grade C. Okay. So yeah, 60% for B2, C1, C2, 70% for B1. Right, that's your pass mark. Okay, moving on, next question. When and how do I get my results? Okay, so you've taken the exam and now you're playing the waiting game. You need to wait for your results. This depends on whether you've taken the paper exam and whether you've taken the digital exam. The paper exam, they start releasing your results 4 to 6 weeks after you've taken the exam. But just because they've released your results doesn't mean that you will get them immediately. It depends on your exam centre, because they will release them to the exam centre and then the exam centre needs to give them to you. So if your exam centre's a bit slow, you might get them 6 weeks, you might even get them 7 weeks after you've taken your exam. Okay. Digital exams are a lot quicker. If you take the digital exam, you should get it in 5 days, 5 working days. Let's say a week, just for good measure. Okay. 5 working days, meaning from Monday to Friday. If you took your exam on a Saturday, you're not going to get it before at least the following Friday. It might even be the Monday after. Okay. And as I already stated, your exam centre will give you your results. If you want your results quicker, not quicker than the release dates, but quicker as in you don't want to go through your exam centre, you can register with the results for candidates service. Okay. And then you'll get an email as soon as your results are released. Again, I'll put a link below, look in the description, and I'll put a link to the results for candidates service so that you can make an account and log in there and you'll be able to get your results quicker. Okay. All right, moving on. Next question, how long is my certificate valid for? I get asked this question all the time. Your certificates are valid forever. Once you have the certificate, it is always valid. But obviously bear in mind this certificate only shows your skill level in a particular time period. In the time period when you took the exam, that was your skill level. If you don't use the skill, if you don't speak English, your skill level is going to go down if you don't use it. So that's why some institutions, some universities, jobs that you're applying for might not accept your certificate if it's 2 or 3 years old, because it's not. Yeah, a 3-year-old certificate is not a true way to show your current skill level, because it's 3 years old. It shows how you spoke 3 years ago, not now. Okay, so be wary. Some institutions just won't accept a certificate that's 2 or 3 years old, even if it is valid. Okay, so a bit annoying, but what can you do? All right, moving on. Next one. Can I pass if I fail one paper? Another common question I get all the time. Yes, you can. As I explained before when I was showing you the pass mark, I said to you, each part of the exam is weighted equally. Everything is 20%. B2, C1, C2, everything is weighted at 20%. B1, it's 25% because you only have 4 parts to your exam. So if everything's weighted at 20%, you're okay. Let's say you fail writing. You're not very good at writing and you fail. but let's say you get, a pretty high mark for speaking, and you get a pretty decent mark for listening, and like an average mark for reading and use of English, you can still pass the exam. As long as all of your marks add up to 60% or above, you will pass that exam. Okay, so yes, you can. Don't worry if you have one skill that's a lot lower than the others. That's normal. Most people do. A lot of people, their speaking skills are quite low if they don't have the opportunity to speak every day. But you can still pass the exam even if you have a low speaking score, because it's just an average mark out of everything. All right. So good news for you. All right, next question. Can I contest my score if I fail, or not even if you fail? Let's say you're just not happy with your score, right? Let's say you're like 2 points off a grade B, and you're really angry. You're like, no, I did better than that. Yes, you can contest your score. You can go back to Cambridge and say, this is wrong, and I want you to remark it, and they will remark it. How do you do that? Okay. Again, in steps. You need to go through your exam centre. You can't do this on your own. You can't personally say to Cambridge, I'm not happy. You need to go through your exam centre, and your exam centre will do this on your behalf. Okay. So go to your exam centre, and you need to submit an inquiry on results. Okay, that's the thing that you need to ask for from your exam centre. And then there are 2 stages. First, they'll do a full clerical recheck. This refers to your listening score and your reading and use of English score. Okay. These scores are actually checked by a computer. A human does not check these scores. That's why you have your specific answer sheet in your exam that you need to block certain answers and write other answers, because it literally just gets scanned into a computer and the computer marks it. Okay, so humans don't need to do this. Maybe the computer might make a mistake. Who knows? But yeah, they'll do a full clerical recheck first. They'll check your reading and use of English and listening. And then they will do a full remark of your writing test. So this is probably where, if you do think your marks are low, this is probably where you're going to gain a couple of marks, because this is subjective. It is being marked by humans. It's people who have been trained by Cambridge to mark at the standards that Cambridge set. But obviously it is subjective to the person marking it. So they do try to keep to Cambridge levels, but I don't know, maybe the person's having a bad day, they're in a bad mood, and they're just, no, this is terrible, whatever. So they will do a full remark of your writing test. So that's where you're likely to get extra marks. However, it is not possible to remark your speaking exam. Okay, you cannot do that, because the speaking exams are not recorded at all. They're not. The audio is not recorded. The video is not recorded. It's literally just by the 2 people, the examiners in your speaking exam. They mark it in the moment when you do it. Okay, so it's just not possible to remark your speaking test. By the way, there is a charge for this. You do have to pay to remark your exam, because obviously people are having to do this. People are working in order to remark your exam, so you're essentially paying the people who are remarking it. But if your grade does change, if it was marked incorrectly to begin with, you don't have to pay. If your grade does not change, you do have to pay. I'm not actually sure how much it is. I don't know. They don't state how much it is on their website, so I can't be sure. But be wary as well. Your grade might go down. There is a possibility of that as well. If you remark your exam and, your writing gets remarked, and the examiner spots a certain error or a mistake that the other one didn't, you might actually get a lower mark. So just be wary. You need to be very, very sure that you did better than Cambridge states that you've done. And I would only do it if you're literally 1 or 2 marks below passing. If you're 1 or 2 marks below a pass and you really need this certificate, then yeah, sure, try and get it changed. But again, be wary, you will have to pay for it if the mark doesn't change. Okay. All right. Moving on. Is it possible to retake one paper? No, it's not. You can't do that. If you fail, or if you're not happy with your mark, you have to retake the entire exam. Even if you fail by a few points, they just don't do it because, again, it's not a true score of how you did on that day. Okay, if you fail, then you failed. It shows your level, and that's how you did on that day. You can't just say, oh, well, can I just have another go at this listening, and they give you a different listening and you do better on it for some reason. It's not really fair, to be honest, that you would retake one part of the paper. So no, they do not allow you to do that. You have to retake the whole exam. So, sorry about that. All right, next up. Okay, I get some questions about this. There are 2 types of exams, Cambridge exams. There are exams for schools, and then there are just the standard exams. So you have B2, C1, C2 for schools, and you just have normal B2, C1, and C2. What are the differences? Okay, I mean, there's not really much difference, to be fair. The content is, it's marked at the same level. You have exactly the same level. You have the same format. However, the schools exams, they're especially designed and suited for school-aged learners. So anyone under the age of 18 will take a school exam. Why? Because the content of the exam is more related to school topics. Okay, so instead of, for example, in your speaking exam, instead of saying, oh, what do you do for work? You know, you can't ask a 16-year-old that question because they probably don't work, right? So it'd be more like, what's your favourite subject at school? Or what do you think makes a good teacher? Or something like that. So the content is just more based around school. The level is the same and the format is the same. I think the only thing that's different really in B1 exam, you have to write a story, which I believe you don't have to do in the adult exam. B2 possibly as well, you might have to write a story, but apart from that, the format's the same. Okay. The normal exam, B2, C1 and C1 exams, they're just suited for adults, they're designed for adults, so the topics are more related to work or just life in general, and again, it's got the same level and the same format, so that's the only difference really. If you're under 18, you will take a full schools exam. If you're over 18, you'll take the usual academic exam. All right, moving on. Can I prepare on my own for your exam? Absolutely, you can. You do not necessarily need a teacher. I actually have a full video about this. I'll link it up here. This video's got tons of resources in it that you can use. A lot of them are free, some of them are paid, but you can definitely prepare on your own. So take a look at that video if you're not planning on using a teacher, or maybe you've not got time to attend classes. There's plenty of nice textbooks. Again, I've got a video just about textbooks for the C1 exam in particular. I'll link it up there again. Ready for first, ready for advanced, ready for proficiency. Those are my preferred textbooks. I use these with my students all the time. I've used them for years. They're fantastic textbooks, really nice. I would recommend them. Cambridge boosters are really good as well. In terms of apps, there's plenty of apps you can use. 5 Minute English is a great app. It looks like this. It's designed to help you with speaking. So you get speaking questions, exam questions, and then you answer it. You kind of talk into the phone, record. It will record your response, and then it gives you grammar and vocabulary errors, and it corrects your errors for you. So it's really good at seeing where you're making repetitive grammar mistakes. Also gives you suggestions like phrasal verbs and collocations to give you more variety for your language mark as well. So that's really useful. Another one is Ing Exam. I'm not sure if they have an app actually. Their website is fantastic. I use this a lot with my students. I always refer my students to it because they have tons of example exercises, use of English exercises, writing questions. It's a really good resource. So you've got textbooks, you've got apps, video courses. I myself have quite a lot of video courses that I've made specifically for the C1 exam. I'll link one up here. I'll link the rest in the description if you want to take a look there. So I have different courses for different parts of the exam if you're struggling with one part in particular. Got one for essay writing, one for listening, one for keyword transformation, one for speaking. I've got the report and proposal. Basically, each part of the exam is there. Again, take a look in the description or up here, and you can see if that'll be useful for you. In terms of writing practice, you can get ChatGPT to mark your essays. That's always a good idea. I do have a video. Again, I'll link it up here. I've got a video all about using ChatGPT for Cambridge exams. So that could be useful for you for use of English for writing. As I said, I'll link that there. Cambridge Write and Improve, that's a nice website. You get your writing marked. I think, to be honest, it's by AI. I don't think humans actually mark it, but it's supposed to be marked to the Cambridge marking criteria. So you can try that. I also have an essay correction service as well. If you want me to mark your essays, I'll put the link up here. I'll also put it in the description, and you can send me your essays and I'll mark them as well if you want. So yes, you can prepare on your own. It's absolutely possible. If you've not got time or money to spend on lessons, you can definitely prepare on your own in a cheaper way. But you do need a lot of self-discipline in order to do that. So. All right, moving on. Are there official vocabulary lists? Yes and no. For lower level exams, they do give vocabulary lists on the Cambridge website. But from levels B2 to C2, there are no official vocabulary lists, unfortunately. I did find ages ago, I found a phrasal verbs list. And it was by Cambridge, but I think it was from a Cambridge textbook maybe, and it was for B2. I'll try and find it and I'll put it in the description for you. But I myself have made a bunch of flashcards anyway, vocabulary flashcards with phrasal verbs, collocations, set expressions. I'll put all of that in the description for you. You can take a look there, download them, and just try to learn as much vocab as you can. The reason why there are no vocabulary lists is that when you get past B2 level, the vocabulary is just too much to give you one list. I mean, it's thousands and thousands of words. You know, phrasal verbs, collocations, set expressions, just general vocabulary as it is. There's too many words to give you a list. So that's why they don't provide one. It's more about learning vocabulary naturally, you know, in context by reading or watching TV or just speaking to people and picking up vocabulary that way. That's why they don't give you a list. Okay. Regardless, I'll put a few lists and some flashcards in the description anyway, in case you just want to learn some extra stuff there. Take a look in the description. You can download them if you want. All right, moving on. So I get a lot of questions about this, the computer-based exam and whether it's easier or not. Okay, so I've spoken to quite a few students about this. I have some students that take the paper-based exam because they feel more comfortable, and I've had quite a few students take the computer-based exam as well. And this is what they've told me. This is their feedback, okay? So there is no difference in content. The questions will be the same, the format is the same. The computer-based exam is slightly more expensive, I guess, just because they need to have computers to do it, and there'll be fewer people in the room as well, so they get less money per exam, so they have to make it more expensive. to make it worthwhile. So yeah, slightly more expensive. However, one big thing is the listening. So the computer-based exam, you get your own headset for listening, whereas in the paper-based exam, a lot of centres, they don't give headsets. They just play it from a CD. They play the audio from a CD player in the corner of the room. So if you're like in the opposite corner from the CD player, you're going to have the worst audio ever compared to everyone else in the room. And obviously, if, let's say, you're in a city centre, there's traffic outside, people are moving around in their chairs, there's going to be extra noise. And it's really quite difficult to listen to the audio. So I think that probably the main difference there is that the listening would be slightly easier because you can hear the audio better in the computer-based exam because you've got a headset. So that's one big advantage to the computer-based exam. On the computer, you've also got a word count for your writing, which is quite useful. So you can see how many words you've written. Obviously, if you're writing on paper, you don't have that. You just have to guess. You've also got a timer on the screen as well. And you get quicker results. As we said, the computer-based exam, you can get your results in like 5 days to 2 weeks, depending on your exam centre, which is quicker than your paper-based exam, which is minimum 6 weeks. Paper-based, so it's cheaper. Paper-based exam is cheaper. Like we said, listening quality is worse. Writing might take you longer because you're not typing. I mean, if you're a fast typer, the writing, you'll get a lot more time. Not more time, you'll have the same amount of time, but you'll get more quality from your time because you can write faster, which will give you more time to check your writing, to check your grammar and everything else. Also, if you've got mistakes, you can just delete it on the computer, whereas when you're writing, you're like, scratching things out and crossing out, and it might get a bit messy. So writing is probably easier for the computer-based exam. However, I would say paper-based exam, it's easier to make notes and highlight things, which you definitely need for listening. You need to be able to make notes and highlight separate things. If you're not sure about listening, I've got a couple of videos. Again, I'll put them up there. Some strategies, especially for part 4. I'll put a video there so you can watch it. So yeah, if you need to make notes, paper-based might be easier. You can make notes on the computer-based. I think you have like a little thing in the corner of your screen where you can click it and write notes on there. For me personally, I would be more comfortable doing the paper-based because I'm more comfortable with paper. I'm a very fast typer, but I like to make notes on paper. So it depends how comfortable you are with the computer versus with paper. Depends how good you are at listening. If your listening level is low, maybe go for computer-based because the listening is better quality. You'll be able to hear it easier. But in terms of content, there is no difference. It is not easier in terms of content. They don't give you different questions. You have the same questions and it's marked in the same way. So in that way, it's not easier. Okay. But there are pros and cons of each one. So it's up to you to decide which you prefer. All right, moving on. Okay, this is a question I get all the time from my students. Can I get a C1 result from a B2 exam? Or can I get a C2 result from a C1 exam? So let's say you get the highest mark. Let's say you're doing the B2 exam and you get the highest mark possible in the B2 exam, which actually pushes you into the C1 bracket. So it is possible to get a C1 from a B2 exam if you get the highest mark. However, you will not get a C1 certificate. You will still only get a B2 certificate. You'll get B2 pass at grade A, but it will not say C1 level. You'll still have B2 level on paper, even though you've basically proved you've got a C1 level. Why? because you didn't take the C1 exam. If you want a C1 certificate, take the C1 exam. If you want a B2 certificate, take the B2 exam. You will not get a C1 certificate from a B2 exam, even if you get a highest mark. I don't know why, but, you know, I guess it's just maybe a bit of a money grab from Cambridge that they want to make you pay more money to do an extra exam. Who knows? But this applies to all Cambridge exams. Okay, you can't get a B2 certificate from a C1 exam, you can't get a C1 from a B2 exam, and you can't get a C2 from a C1 exam. All right, next up. What is Cambridge Linguaskill? Okay, you might have seen this, if you follow Cambridge on social media, or if you're just interested in taking the exam, you may have seen the Linguaskill exam. So this is a new exam by Cambridge. It's online only, and you do not have to go to an exam centre to do it. You do it from home on your own computer through the Cambridge portal. It's only for levels B2 to C2. So if you're below B2, you cannot take this exam. And it's used for university entry, university admission, and for recruiting as well. So if you need a certain job, they might ask you to do a Linguaskill. The reason they do it is because it's just way faster than doing an exam in an exam centre. It only takes a few hours, and again, you get results in 5 days. It's super quick. Main thing here is speaking is not interactive. So if you go to an exam centre and you do an exam there, your speaking is you're with another candidate and you have to talk to them. In the Linguaskill exam, you don't. You're literally just talking to the computer. You get asked questions and then you have to give responses, so it's less interactive. The rest of the stuff is basically the same format as all the other exams. But it's just a really fast way of getting a result, of getting your level, rather than having to wait 6 weeks for your results. So if you're under time pressure to get a certificate for a job that you need or for university, ask them if they accept Linguaskill. A lot of places do. There's a lot of universities that accept it and jobs. So ask for that, and that might be more appropriate for your situation. If you want more information, what I'm going to do, I've not made a video yet, but I will make a new video all about the Linguaskill exam, so you've got more information on it. Okay. So it won't be out yet once this video comes out, but have a search on my channel and it might be out by the time you find me. All right, and our final question, most important question, how much does it cost? Yeah, Cambridge exams, they can be quite pricey, and they change depending on what country you're in and what exam centre you go through. Okay, so these are some costs that I found. I've looked at different exam centres to see their costs. Cambridge B1, the lowest I found was €108. The highest I found was 225. This was depending on the test centre. So I think it was Netherlands British Council charged like €225. And it was, I think it was something like Go Native Spain or something. I found €108. So yeah, definitely shop around. Go to different exam centres and ask them their prices, because you might be getting ripped off. They might be charging you too much. Okay. So yeah, Cambridge B1, €108 to €225, depending on the centre in your country. Cambridge B2, €195 to €250, depending. C1, €205 to €370, depending on your country and test centre, and C2, €250 to €370, depending on your test centre. Okay, so it is worth shopping around if you're going to take this exam, because they can get very expensive. All right, so they are your FAQs for the Cambridge exams. If you do have any more questions about any of the exams, please leave me a comment, let me know. And I'll try to get back to you when I can. If you found this video useful, please do give it a like and make sure you are subscribed to the channel so that you get a video from me every week about your Cambridge exam and you can continue studying. Alright, that's all from me for today. I hope your exam prep is going well, and I'll see you in another video soon.